What if the reality you wake up to every morning isn't the whole story? What if the struggles, the lack, and the silence you feel around your deepest desires aren't signs that you're failing, but proof that you've simply been looking in the wrong direction? Most people assume that if something can't be touched, seen, or measured, it must not exist. But what if that very assumption is the reason dreams seem distant and change feels impossible? Joseph Murphy taught a truth so few are ready to accept, that what we call reality is merely a filtered projection, one shaped by habit, emotion, and conditioned belief, not by absolute truth. You've been trained to focus only on what your senses confirm, to trust what you can verify with your eyes, or your bank account, or your body. And in doing so, you've unknowingly shut yourself off from an entire dimension of power. Right now, in this very moment, there's a version of your life that already contains everything you desire. It exists, not years from now, not in a vague someday, but here, in a hidden realm of potential waiting for your awareness to unlock it. This is not about wishful thinking. It's about perception. The things you long for aren't missing. They're just invisible to the part of your mind that's been focused on lack for far too long. You're not here to chase dreams that run from you. You're here to awaken to the truth that those dreams are already yours. You've simply been perceiving absence instead of energy, silence instead of vibration, emptiness instead of the field of infinite creation that surrounds you right now. And when you begin to understand that your outer world is a reflection of your inner attention, everything changes. You stop reacting to what is and begin creating what could be, not through effort, but through alignment. This is the hidden dimension behind your desires, and it's far more real than the struggle you've been calling your life. Since childhood, you've been told to trust your eyes, believe in facts, and accept the world as it's presented to you. You were never taught that reality bends, not just around science, but around belief. What you experience every day isn't the truth. It's a reinforced pattern built by repetition and accepted without question. You weren't born into truth. You were conditioned into limitation. And what you call reality is simply the result of this conditioning playing itself out in your surroundings. Everything you see, everything you hear, even the problems you face, are all filtered through a belief system that was never really yours. From family, from society, from fear, you've inherited a lens that only shows you a narrow sliver of what's actually possible. And here's the most dangerous part. Once you accept that what you see is all that exists, you unconsciously agree to stay small. You obey what has been labeled real, even when your soul knows there's more. This is where the illusion takes root. You look at your bank account and call it your financial truth. You feel pain in your body and call it your permanent condition. You live alone and assume love is far away. But none of this is absolute. These are snapshots, temporary reflections of where your attention has settled, not fixed facts of who you are. Joseph Murphy spoke of the subconscious mind not just as a memory vault, but as the creative engine of reality. It doesn't respond to what's true. It responds to what's believed. And that's the secret. The world doesn't shape your thoughts. Your thoughts shape the world. So if you continue to focus on what's missing, what's wrong, or what's broken, you'll keep getting more proof of exactly that. Not because it's true, but because your attention keeps recreating it. Reality is not a dictator, it's a mirror. And once you realize you've been hypnotized by the visible, you can begin the process of reawakening to the invisible, where true power begins. You were never meant to obey the world around you. You were meant to command it, not by force, but by perception. Once you begin to question the version of reality you were trained to obey, a deeper truth starts to emerge, one that has been present all along, quietly shaping every outcome in your life. This truth is simple, yet astonishing. Everything is energy, and every form of energy vibrates. Your thoughts, your emotions, your beliefs, your body, your relationships, your bank account. Nothing is static. Everything is moving, oscillating, radiating at specific frequencies. And those frequencies are not random. They are aligned with the state of consciousness you live in every single day. Joseph Murphy understood this as the foundation of creation. Before there is form, there is vibration. Before there is manifestation, there is frequency. You are not attracting outcomes by words or wishes. You are tuning into them by vibration. The law of vibration operates beneath the surface, silently dictating what you experience. Not based on what you want, but based on who you're being. Your current life is not a mistake. It's a match, a vibrational echo of your dominant inner state. This is why no amount of effort can override the frequency you're sending out. Action without alignment only creates resistance. Think of it like a radio. The songs you want to hear already exist, but you won't hear them unless you tune to the right frequency. Wishing for abundance while vibrating in scarcity is like trying to hear jazz on a static AM channel. The music exists, you're just not tuned in. In this invisible field, every version of your life is already encoded. Health, wealth, love, freedom, they're not goals to chase, but stations to tune into. And tuning in isn't about working harder, it's about becoming energetically compatible with what you desire. Your mind is the transmitter, your emotions are the amplifier, and your belief is the dial. When they are aligned, manifestation becomes less of a mystery and more of a mechanical certainty. That's the invisible blueprint behind everything you've ever wanted. Not created through struggle, but revealed through frequency. The law of vibration isn't a theory to believe in, it's a system you're already living in. And once you learn to work with it consciously, you stop chasing reality and start choosing it. This is where most people misunderstand how creation truly works. They believe that desire alone is enough, that wanting something deeply will somehow pull it closer. But the universe doesn't respond to what you want. It mirrors what you are. This truth can be uncomfortable at first because it forces a deeper level of self-awareness. If your life is filled with struggle, limitation, or disconnection, it's not because you didn't wish hard enough. It's because you're vibrating in alignment with those very experiences, often unconsciously. Wanting is a mental signal, but being, that's energetic. You can want financial freedom while constantly identifying with scarcity. You can visualize love while vibrating in loneliness. You can affirm success while emotionally rehearsing failure. And when that happens, the signal you're sending out isn't your desire, it's your doubt. It's your identity. The universe doesn't respond to the picture you paint with your imagination. It responds to the frequency you hold in your nervous system, in your body, in the space between your thoughts. Joseph Murphy made this distinction clear. The subconscious does not act on what you wish. It acts on what you assume. And your assumptions are not built from words. They are built from repeated emotional states that solidify into identity. If, deep down, you still see yourself as the person who struggles, who waits, who lacks, then no matter how much you try to change the outside, it will always bend back into the same familiar shape. Not because the universe is against you, but because it's listening to who you are, not what you say. To change your reality, you must first change your self-perception. not in some abstract motivational sense, but in the vibrational sense. You must become the version of you who already has it, already lives it, already expects it, because in the fourth dimensional field, that version already exists. The moment you match it energetically, you begin to collapse the wave into form. This is not about faking confidence or forcing belief. It's about gently but deliberately shifting the way you feel about who you are until your external world has no choice but to reflect it. When you stop chasing the life you want and start embodying the identity that already lives it, your desires stop feeling distant. They become familiar. They become natural because they are no longer outside of you. They are you. Most people live in a loop. They wake up, check their environment, and immediately begin reacting. They react to the number in their bank account, to the pain in their body, to the silence in their phone, to the past that keeps echoing into the present. And, without realizing it, this constant reaction anchors them into the same dimension they claim they want to escape. But you were never meant to live life as a reaction. You were meant to create, deliberately, consciously, energetically. This shift begins when you stop letting the three-dimensional world dictate your internal state. That world, the one you see, touch, and measure, is not the source of your power. It's the result, the echo, the after-effect of previous thoughts, past beliefs, and outdated emotional patterns. Reacting to it only reinforces it. But there is another layer, one Joseph Murphy understood deeply and taught relentlessly: the fourth-dimensional reality. The unseen field of potential where all things already exist in their energetic form. It's not fantasy, it's frequency. The fourth dimension is where creation begins, not with effort, but with awareness. Not by pushing against what is, but by aligning with what could be. This is the realm where time collapses and possibility expands. Here, the future isn't something you move toward, it's something you pull into now through perception. And the key to this shift is learning to observe your current reality without identifying with it, without giving it authority over your identity. You may still see the unpaid bills, feel the physical symptoms, or experience the emotional weight, but you begin to hold them differently. You stop reacting. You stop believing they define you. And instead, you start choosing. You choose to align with the version of you that has already transcended those patterns. You give more attention to the blueprint than the reflection, to the energy than the evidence. That's where creation starts moving. Not because you forced it, but because you finally stopped energizing what no longer serves you. This isn't about escaping reality. It's about accessing a greater one. You're not running from your life. You're stepping into the part of it you couldn't see before. And when you do that consistently, your external world starts rearranging to match your internal knowing. Creation becomes natural. Transformation becomes inevitable, and the illusion of limitation begins to dissolve. At some point on this path, you come to a crossroads, a moment where awareness is no longer enough, and a decision must be made. Because knowing that every version of your life exists in the fourth dimension means little unless you choose one. Potential is infinite, but experience is precise. And what turns possibility into presence, what draws the invisible into form, is a decision, not one made in thought, but in vibration. You see, most people wait for proof before they commit. They want signs before they surrender, results before they believe. But in the quantum field, that's not how it works. You don't decide because you see. You begin to see because you've decided. The act of choosing a reality, fully, emotionally, energetically, is what calls it into being. It's not about wishing harder. It's about shifting your signal, cutting ties with the old, and standing in the new, even if your senses haven't caught up yet. This choice is not dramatic. It's not loud. It's not made with fireworks or sudden external changes. It's subtle, internal, steady. It happens in the quiet moments when you choose to feel differently about who you are and what you're aligned with. When you stop asking, "When will it come?" and begin knowing it already exists. That's the moment the field begins to reorganize itself around your certainty, and life, as you know it, begins to reflect the change. Joseph Murphy often reminded his readers that the subconscious responds to conviction, not confusion, and conviction doesn't mean force. It means clarity. It means coherence. It means you've stopped vibrating in two directions, one foot in doubt, the other in desire, and you've aligned all of you with the reality you've chosen. That decision becomes a tuning fork. It shapes your behavior, your energy, your attention, your expectations. And as that vibration stabilizes, manifestation is no longer a chase. It becomes the natural consequence of who you've become. So, if you've ever wondered why something hasn't shown up yet, look not at what you've wanted, but at what you've committed to, internally and consistently. Because the universe isn't holding anything back. It's responding to the frequency of your deepest decisions, moment by moment. And the instant your choice becomes undivided, reality begins to shift. Once the decision is made, once you choose the reality you wish to live, you step into a space where action is no longer driven by evidence, but by embodiment. This is where most give up, because the world around them hasn't caught up yet. The money hasn't appeared, the healing hasn't manifested, the partner hasn't arrived. And so they retreat back into old frequencies, unaware that they've abandoned the very vibration that would have brought it all into form. But when you truly understand the mechanics of consciousness, you realize the most powerful thing you can do is live as if, fully, quietly, consistently, as if it's already here. This isn't about pretending or playing make-believe. It's about aligning your state of being with the unseen truth you've already chosen, acting, feeling, thinking, and responding from the frequency of the desired outcome, not in hope or desperation, but in trust. This subtle shift changes everything. Your posture changes. Your energy field shifts. Your choices refine. You stop chasing and begin moving with calm assurance because you're no longer trying to become something. You're allowing what already is to express itself through you. Joseph Murphy knew that the subconscious accepts what is impressed upon it through repetition and emotion. So when you act from the state of already having, even in the smallest ways, you're training your inner world to stabilize a new identity. And eventually, the outer world can't help but follow. Because the universe isn't responding to what you do occasionally, it responds to what you consistently are. Living as if doesn't mean faking confidence or ignoring your current reality. It means recognizing that your present circumstances are temporary reflections, not fixed identities. It means remembering that your senses are always late to the party and that the energetic shift happens long before physical evidence arrives. This is where true mastery begins, not when you need proof to believe, but when your belief becomes the proof. When your frequency leads the way and reality obeys. And so, with each choice, each thought, each subtle action, you become more of what you've already decided to be. Not because you're forcing it, but because you've stopped waiting. You've stopped hesitating. You're no longer asking for permission from the world around you. You are embodying the version of yourself who already knows. The invisible has always been more real than the visible. There comes a moment on this journey where the line between the seeker and the creator dissolves. You've explored the illusion of reality, questioned the stories you've been taught, tuned into the vibration of your desires, and learned to live from a place that most never even acknowledge. But all of it leads to one final step, the shift in identity. Not as a performance, not as a role, but as a return to your true self. The version of you who already has it all isn't someone you become, it's someone you remember. This version of you already exists. In the quantum field, in the energetic fabric of creation, there is a version of you who is already living in abundance, health, love, and deep fulfillment. Not hoping for it, not waiting on it, living it. And that version isn't distant. It's not locked in the future. It's simply vibrating at a level your current self is just beginning to access. The gap between who you are and who you want to be is not time, it's frequency. And as that frequency stabilizes, what once felt far becomes familiar, natural, obvious. Joseph Murphy often said, "Change your subconscious belief, and your whole world changes." But what he really meant was this: when you change who you believe you are, reality reorganizes itself around that truth. Identity isn't just mindset, it's your signal to the universe. When you embody the identity of someone who is already whole, already worthy, already in possession of everything they once desired, you collapse the waiting. You end the delay. Because you're no longer trying to attract something, you're now expressing it. You speak differently, you walk differently, you expect differently, not because you're trying to convince yourself, but because your nervous system has accepted this version of reality as normal. And when something becomes normal, it becomes sustainable. And when it's sustainable, it becomes inevitable. That's the power of identity. Not forcing, not begging, not waiting, just choosing and living in that choice fully. This is the turning point most people never reach. They get stuck in cycles of wanting, trying, doubting. But the ones who break through aren't special. They're simply the ones who decided to stop being the version of themselves who waits and started living as the version who already is. That's when everything changes, not just the outside world, but the way you move through it, the way you see it, the way it reflects you back to yourself.